past 2 years had taken their toll on Sebastian Tint's old bones. Sure, his legs still got him to the end of the daily walk, but they'd started kicking up a bit of a fuss. Ricky, his German shepherd, was no longer a pup and needed a daily leg stretch. But the way that things were going, the old guy was going to have to start employing a dog walker, unless Rob Adams fancied a part-time job. A copy of a medical journal lay open on the coffee table, Spirits and Psychosis by Sebastian Tint. The article had been commissioned by the monthly magazine, an in-depth look at the case of Amelia Root. Rob and Jenny had given their blessing, and Sebastian still considered it to be one of his best works. He read the article with the magazine in one hand and a brandy in the other, like an old soap star watching reruns of bygone days. Solitude had become more of a friend than an enemy, and the old professor had lived on his own for years, comfortable in his own skin and at peace with himself. But recently, a growing sense of unease had been festering within. He looked around his room, cluttered with the things he loved, the things that had kept him happy, the walls of books, the vintage typewriter. Nothing had changed, but recently he'd started to turn on an extra light in a futile attempt to dispel the gloom. He knew only too well that the darkness existed within his soul. Sebastian took a sip of brandy, recalling the fate that befell the Blackman family. He'd met them 8 years ago at the local community centre, where he'd been asked to speak at a fundraising event the university had held. At the end of the evening, a concerned parent took him aside and told him that his son was struggling and they'd been unable to find suitable tutors. The old man had never been one to turn down a challenge, and to his surprise, 12-year-old Marty Blackman took to him immediately. They did English and maths twice a week, and over the following months, the boy's grades improved dramatically. The Blackmans took Sebastian under their wing and invited him to spend Christmas with them. Marty and his older brother considered him to be the coolest old man in the universe, and thought it might be funny to dress him up as an underweight Santa. Everything went well for the next couple of months, but then midway through March, as the days were growing longer and the daffodils were rising, Sebastian began to feel a terrible weight inside. Even the daily walks failed to lift his mood. He loved springtime, even more than the summer it preceded, yet there was a sense of foreboding, the reason for which eluded him. And on the day before it happened, the old man felt his spirit suffocating. As he made his way to the Blackman's home the following afternoon, he knew something was wrong. The police were there, 3 cars and 2 ambulances. The house was a crime scene. The neighbours gathered behind the cordon, some crying and others looking on in bewilderment. A silence seemed to fall over the whole street. Mrs. Blackman worked for social services and had been instrumental in taking a kid from an abusive father. The father had a history of violence, but the courts just slapped his wrists and sent him home. Danny Maddock went home one night after a couple of drinks, pulled out a handgun and went knocking at the Blackman's home around 12 midnight. Mr. Blackman answered, thinking it might have been a neighbour, and was confronted by Danny, who raised his right arm and blew a hole in his victim's chest. Mrs. Blackman woke and ran down the stairs, straight into the second bullet. Maddock had stepped over the dead bodies and calmly walked up the stairs. He told the court that he thought it was kinder to kill the 2 boys, because social services would only fuck up their futures too. Sebastian sighed. The memory of that day, a day he'd never talked about, lay heavily on his heart. But now that darkness hung over him again. A premonition, maybe, of someone close in some kind of danger. Sebastian emptied his glass. The only people in his life right now were Robert and Jenny Adams.